think one of the interesting questions for the researchers is, if you're creating a community, in what way are you then responsible for it? So we have communities of practice. That's a concept we're familiar with from our disciplines. If you're creating a Facebook page, a project page, a Twitter account, you're creating a community of practice, a community of interest. So the issues of power and sort of colonisation and appropriation and all of those things that we're familiar with in fieldwork, how does that apply then to these online communities that have been artificially, if you like, created, maintained, develop a life of their own, and then what, someone closes it down? It's a question for the researchers back.
Our project pages don't require exit strategy, because that's why they're called Indigenous Identity and Community Online, because there's always something to post on there, even if it's related to the project. So we don't have an exit strategy.
The legal response is that it's a case by case, and it's disclosure. So it's informing the participants for this particular project. The relationship will end at this point. So providing they're informed of that fact and they participate, then there's no issue from a legal perspective.
So in my experience, I'm working with people who have mental health problems, and so a lot of people get a lot of support from each other online. And so if you look in particular at the Goodnight trial, that was a trial trying to prevent depression using an insomnia. And it's a long study, it's 18 months. So the Facebook page was really a great way to kind of engage people with the trial and also sustain them for the follow-up. And I actually think it's a really great way to keep reminding people that they can withdraw from the study if they're feeling distressed. And it's a good way for a researcher to stay in contact, to say, if you no longer want to participate, no problems, this is what you do. However, when the study finishes and you've got 22,000 people who have been following you for 18 months and following the Black Dog Institute, and then I personally think as a good researcher, you do have to kind of think about, well, what is next for this community? And that simply can just be, thanks everyone for being involved. If you want to keep in contact, follow the Black Dog page. But there has been questions and suggestions that you use that online community to post notifications about other studies that are available. Now, whether or not it's ethical to sort of just start to recycle this one community, that's a question that I think that if that's in your mind, you need to pitch that to the committee and say, what do you think about this? And also, how do you thank your participants and thank the community for mental health research? So I actually think it's quite important to acknowledge those 22,000 people and give them an option that, yep, the study's finished funding, but if you want to keep in contact, here's Black Dog, here's the other places you can go for support, and we're going to be shutting it down. I sort of think that's sort of a respectful thing to do to participants. But
I would agree with that. I mean, and there's not one rule for all projects. Obviously, it depends on the topic and the participants and the field and all those kinds of things. But I think with any study, it's courtesy to let people know when it's finished and to thank them for their time and a bit of this is what's next, or if you're interested in other research, you can do this or whatever. I mean, I think that's kind of a good way to wrap up a project, so it's just not left hanging.
If it's set up as a research community and the research project is finished, then I think Bridie's right. It's a matter of respect and thanking. If that community wants to keep going, then as a support community or whatever, then that's a completely different thing and requires someone else to fund the access to the page and the administration and all the bits. As researchers, I suspect you don't really want to have in perpetuity responsibility for, all your project pages, and it becomes a different purpose as well. So, yeah, I agree that as a mark of acknowledgement and respect for the participants' participation, some sort of closure is really important.